Welcome to the Restricted Handling Daily Intel Brief. This is what's been going on in China in the past 24 hours. China and North Korea are at the top of the strategic scoreboard this week. Xi Jinping is heading to Pyongyang on June 8th and 9th, his first visit there in nearly 7 years at Kim Jong Un's invitation. The timing aligns with the 65th anniversary of the China-North Korea Friendship Treaty, and the optics are deliberate. Xi and Kim will be sending a clear message about the enduring strength of their ties. Pyongyang is leveraging this for both domestic propaganda and international signaling. With Russia's recent support in Ukraine, Kim is showing that North Korea remains a regional player with friends in Beijing and Moscow, even as Washington and Seoul watch closely. For Kim, the summit isn't just a photo op. He's likely pressing for increased trade over the land border and more Chinese tourism for his newly developed resorts. Pyongyang has been projecting an image of economic revival and modern infrastructure, alongside its expanding nuclear capabilities. China, on the other hand, is balancing its interest in keeping North Korea close while subtly cautioning against over-reliance on Moscow. Beijing wants Pyongyang within its orbit, ensuring that its northern neighbor remains dependent on China's economic lifelines rather than becoming too entangled militarily with Russia. The nuclear question will inevitably dominate discussions. Kim has recently highlighted that North Korea's weapons-grade nuclear material production has more than doubled over 5 years, touring new enrichment facilities in the process. While the U.S. and China continue to talk about denuclearization, Pyongyang is signaling that it will not retreat from its nuclear ambitions. Xi's challenge will be to maintain influence and channel dialogue without endorsing or accelerating North Korea's weapons program. On the economic front, Beijing continues to reinforce its fortress strategy. New State Council rules now require national security screening for Chinese companies seeking overseas investments. Following April's regulation, allowing intervention when foreign firms relocate supply chains, investments are categorized as encouraged, restricted, or prohibited, and authorities can halt deals or force divestments if they raise national security concerns. The goal is to lock in capital, talent, and critical technologies, particularly in sectors where China holds a global competitive advantage. These measures signal a decisive shift from an open market growth model to a highly controlled, security-driven approach, making outbound expansion more complicated for Chinese companies at a time when exports and global demand remain high. Financial signals suggest that China is quietly moving massive foreign currency flows to manage yuan pressures. Analysts estimate that roughly $700 billion in foreign assets may have passed through state financial institutions over the past year. These hidden interventions reflect Beijing's careful strategy, using domestic financial channels to stabilize the currency while keeping the broader world guessing. In maritime developments, China's assertiveness is rising across multiple fronts. Satellite imagery has shown a temporary structure at Scarborough Shoal, though it disappeared by June 1st. The Philippines is investigating, while China maintains its sovereignty claim. The disputed South China Sea continues to be a zone of symbolic and operational pressure. Around Taiwan, Chinese Coast Guard vessels forced entry into restricted waters near Dongsha Island on June 5th, triggering a standoff with Taiwan's patrol ships. Taiwan framed the move as an attempt by Beijing to assert jurisdiction over the islands, reinforcing a narrative of incremental coercion. Additionally, Taiwan's defense ministry reported multiple Chinese aircraft sorties and naval vessels in the Taiwan Strait on the same day. The significance here is strategic. China is testing control and influence while avoiding full-blown conflict. Political signaling extends beyond the water. New Zealand announced that Beijing has imposed a 1-year entry ban on 4 lawmakers who visited Taiwan last month. The group includes representatives from both the ruling coalition and the opposition. This is a clear message. Engagement with Taipei, even at the parliamentary level, carries consequences. It illustrates Beijing's willingness to project pressure into democratic processes without directly confronting military forces. Turning to tech, SpaceX's IPO materials were inaccessible in both mainland China and Hong Kong this week, raising questions about market access and corporate caution. The company is aiming for a $75 billion raise, valuing it at $1.75 trillion, which would make it one of the largest global listings ever. The block may reflect company-level decisions tied to SpaceX's defense contractor status and past U.S. scrutiny of Chinese investment exposure. On the intelligence front, the Five Eyes Alliance issued a warning about Chinese recruitment tactics. Military and civilian analysts are being targeted through job platforms by front companies posing as recruiters or consultancies. Applicants are evaluated for access potential, asked to produce trial reports, and move to encrypted communications for payments ranging from a few hundred to several $1,000s per report. While the targets may not always hold classified information, aggregated insights from these exercises provide valuable operational pictures of policy, defense, and organizational networks. Finally, in the Middle East, China continues to explore ways to project diplomatic influence amid the U.S.-Iran standoff. With tensions rising over Iran's nuclear material, Beijing could potentially serve as a neutral custodian for enriched uranium or other sensitive materials if Washington, Tehran, and Beijing agree. This is high-stakes diplomacy. It would enhance China's credibility and regional influence while letting Iran avoid a direct U.S. intervention scenario. The strategic caveat is that any Chinese handling of Iranian nuclear material could create expectations of security commitments, a responsibility Beijing traditionally avoids, but may weigh carefully for the prestige and leverage it confers. From North Korea to the South China Sea, from Yuan stabilization to SpaceX IPO access, and from intelligence operations to Middle East diplomacy, China's reach and influence are testing the limits of strategic, economic, and informational control. Xi's moves this week, whether in Pyongyang, financial markets, or diplomatic channels, underscore a calculated push to be seen as indispensable on multiple fronts while carefully managing the risks of overextension. Thanks for listening and helping grow this community. If you're getting value from the show, a quick review or comment helps surface it to others who care about this space. For deeper coverage, we publish a daily intel brief on Substack, restrictedhandling.substack.com, where we expand on Russia and China and provide additional insights on Iran, the Middle East, and the DPRK. Appreciate you. Have a great day.